April 23, 1945, 2:47 a.m. Holzkirchen, Germany. The town is sleeping. Audie Murphy isn't. He's crouched in a foxhole at the edge of a frozen field, M1 carbine across his lap, breath fogging in the pre-dawn cold. Around him, the wreckage of Company B is scattered across the tree line. Exhausted men in mud-caked uniforms, some slumped against their rifles, eyes half closed. They've been fighting for 11 days straight. 11 days of brutal, grinding combat through the Bavarian countryside, pushing deeper into the collapsing heart of Nazi Germany. Murphy is 19 years old. He looks 30. His face is gaunt, hollowed out by months of war. Dark circles ring his eyes. His hands, calloused, scarred, steady, rest on his weapon with the casual intimacy of a man who's held it longer than he's held anything else. He's killed more men than he can count. Survived battles that should have killed him a dozen times over. Earned a chest full of medals he doesn't talk about. But tonight, something feels different. The forest ahead of them is too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. The kind that comes right before everything goes to hell. Lieutenant Murphy, he made officer 3 months ago, though he still thinks of himself as just another grunt, scans the darkness beyond their perimeter. Intelligence said the Germans were retreating, falling back in disarray. The war is almost over, they said. Hitler's holed up in Berlin, the Reich crumbling around him. Just a matter of time now. But Murphy knows better than to trust intelligence reports. He's learned that the hard way. Behind him, the town of Holzkirchen sits in shadow. A cluster of buildings, farms, a church steeple silhouetted against the starlit sky. Population maybe 800. Nothing strategic about it. Just another nameless German town in the path of the American advance. Except it's not empty. Murphy's scouts came back an hour ago with troubling news. German forces are dug in throughout the town. Not retreating. Not surrendering. Waiting. How many? They couldn't say. Could be a platoon. Could be a company. Could be more. And Company B, what's left of it, has been ordered to take the town at first light. Murphy does the math in his head. They've got maybe 40 combat-effective soldiers. 40 men who can still fight after weeks of constant action. After the casualties and the exhaustion and the 1,000 small defeats that come with pushing through enemy territory. 40 men against an unknown force fortified in buildings with clear fields of fire. The odds aren't good. They never are. He pulls out a cigarette. His hands don't shake, they never shake, and cups his palm around the match as he lights it. The brief flare of flame illuminates his face for just a second. Baby-faced, they used to call him. The kid from Texas who lied about his age to enlist. Who grew up dirt poor in Hunt County, picking cotton for pennies, watching his siblings go hungry. That kid is gone now. What's left is something else. Something harder. Something that's seen too much and survived anyway. Murphy takes a drag and watches the smoke drift into the darkness. Somewhere out there, beyond the tree line, German soldiers are watching too. Waiting, preparing. Maybe some of them are 19 years old, like him. Maybe some of them are scared. Maybe some of them want to go home just as badly as he does. It doesn't matter. When the sun comes up, they'll try to kill each other. That's how this works. He finishes the cigarette and grinds it out in the dirt. Around him, his men are stirring now. The whispered orders are going out, passing from foxhole to foxhole. Check your ammunition. Fix bayonets. Stay low. Murphy checks his own gear with practiced efficiency. Carbine loaded, safety on. Grenades clipped to his belt. Spare magazines in his pouches. Everything in its place. Everything ready. He's done this so many times it's become ritual. But there's something else in his pack. Something he carries everywhere, folded carefully in a waterproof pouch. Letters from home. from his family, from the girl he knew back in Texas, before the war, before everything changed. He doesn't read them anymore, can't bear to most days, but he keeps them close. Proof that there's still a world outside this one. A world that's not mud and blood and burning buildings. A world worth fighting for, even if he's not sure he'll ever see it again. The sky is starting to lighten. Just barely. That deep purple gray that comes before dawn. When you can almost convince yourself that the day might bring something different. Something better. Murphy knows it won't. He's been in too many fights to believe in miracles. But he stands up anyway. Checks his men. Moves down the line. Offering quiet words, firm nods. You good? Stay sharp. Watch your sectors. They look at him with something between respect and fear. He's kept them alive this long. They trust him. He's not sure they should. At 5:15 a.m., the artillery starts. American guns, miles behind them, opening up with a barrage meant to soften the German positions before the assault. Shells scream overhead and crash into Holzkirchen with thunderous detonations. Fire blooms in the darkness. Buildings collapse. The ground shakes. Murphy watches the town burn and feels nothing. He's seen too many towns burn. At 5:45, the barrage lifts. Silence rushes in to fill the void, broken only by the crackle of flames and the distant sound of shouting. German voices. They're still there. Still alive. Still waiting. Company B moves out. They advance in a skirmish line, spread out, weapons ready. Murphy leads from the front. Always from the front. That's what officers do when they're worth a damn. The frozen field crunches under their boots. Dawn is breaking now. Pale light spreading across the landscape, revealing everything. Revealing them. They're 200 yards from the first buildings when the Germans open fire. Machine guns erupt from windows, from rooftops, from positions they couldn't see in the darkness. Tracers cut through the air like horizontal rain. The sound is overwhelming. A continuous roar of automatic weapons fire, dozens of guns hammering at once. Murphy hits the ground. Around him, men are dropping. Some diving for cover. Some not getting up. He rolls into a shallow depression and brings his carbine up, searching for targets. There, second-floor window, muzzle flash. He fires 3 quick rounds. The machine gun goes silent. But there are more. So many more. The Germans aren't retreating. They're not in disarray. They're dug in, well supplied, and they're fighting like men who have nothing left to lose. Because they don't. This is their country now. Their homes. Their last stand. And they're going to make the Americans pay for every inch. Murphy keys his radio, shouting over the gunfire. We need armor. We need. The transmission cuts off as an explosion geysers dirt 10 feet to his left. Mortars now. The Germans have mortars. Company B is pinned down in the open field, taking casualties, with no cover and nowhere to go but forward or back. Forward means death. Back means failure. Murphy makes the only choice he knows how to make. He rises to one knee, ignoring the bullets snapping past his head, and waves his arm. Move! Move forward. Get to the buildings. His men respond, because they always do. Because Murphy asks them to do impossible things, and somehow, impossibly, they survive. They surge forward into the storm of fire. And Audie Murphy charges with them, toward the burning town, toward the enemy, toward whatever comes next. Because that's what he does. That's all he knows how to do anymore. The first building is a farmhouse. Murphy hits the wall beside the door at a full sprint, back pressed against the cold stone, carbine up. 3 of his men are right behind him. Jackson, Rodriguez, and a replacement whose name he can't remember. The kid looks terrified. They all look terrified. He doesn't blame them. The machine gun fire hasn't stopped. It's coming from everywhere now. The church, the town square, buildings they can't even see yet. Company B is scattered across the field and the outskirts of Holzkirchen, taking cover wherever they can find it. Murphy can hear the screaming. Wounded men calling for medics. Officers are trying to reorganize their squads. It's chaos. Murphy's fought through chaos before. He signals to Jackson. Tall kid from Ohio, good soldier, steady hands. Jackson nods and moves to the opposite side of the door. Murphy counts on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. He kicks the door open and goes in low. The room explodes with gunfire. Murphy fires twice before he even registers what he's seeing. German soldier, maybe 25, Feldgrau uniform. MP-40 submachine gun coming up. Both of Murphy's rounds hit center mass. The German drops. There's another one in the corner. Murphy pivots, fires again. Mississippi. The German fires back. Bullets punch through the air where Murphy's head was a second ago. He drops to one knee, takes a breath, and squeezes the trigger. The German staggers back and falls. Jackson is through the door now, clearing the other room. Rodriguez follows. 2 more shots. Silence. Clear? Jackson shouts. Murphy is already moving deeper into the house. There's a staircase leading up. Windows overlooking the main street. This is a good position. They can use this. He moves to the window and looks out. The town is a maze of stone buildings, narrow streets, and alleys thick with smoke from the artillery barrage. He can see German soldiers moving between positions. Maybe 15, 20 just in his line of sight. They're organized, disciplined. This isn't some ragtag rear guard. This is a real defensive position. And Company B just walked into it blind. Murphy keys his radio again. Captain, this is Murphy. We've got heavy resistance throughout the town. Estimate at least company strength enemy forces, well fortified. We need. A bullet shatters the window frame inches from his face. He ducks instinctively, glass raining down. Another burst of fire rips through the wall. The Germans have spotted them. Get down from that window, Rodriguez yells. But Murphy stays low and keeps watching. Because that's his job. To see, to assess, to figure out how to keep his men alive for the next 5 minutes. Across the street, he spots the source of the fire. An MG-42 machine gun team set up in a second-story window. 2 men operating it, one feeding the belt, both of them pouring fire into the farmhouse. That gun needs to go. Murphy pulls a grenade from his belt, yanks the pin, and counts. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. He rises just enough to throw, a perfect arc through the shattered window, across the street, through the German position. The explosion is muffled but effective. The machine gun goes silent. Move up! Murphy shouts into his radio. All units, advance to the buildings. We can't stay in the open. He doesn't wait to see if anyone follows. He's already heading for the back door, his 3-man team behind him. They burst out into a narrow alley, and Murphy immediately goes right, hugging the wall, moving toward the sound of gunfire. Because that's where his men are. That's where they need him. The alley opens into a small courtyard. 2 of his soldiers are pinned down behind a stone well. German fire coming from a building across the way. Murphy doesn't hesitate. He runs across the open space, 10 yards that feel like a mile, and slides into cover beside them. Sir? One of them is Sergeant Hayes, a grizzled veteran who's been with Company B since North Africa. We got at least a squad in that building. Can't get close. Murphy peers around the well. The building is 2 stories, with windows on both floors, all of them facing. Maybe 8 Germans, maybe more. Too many to rush. Too well-positioned to flank. He looks around the courtyard. There's a damaged cart, some scattered debris, a low wall leading to an adjacent alley. Not much. But enough. Hayes, lay down suppressing fire on my signal. Rodriguez, Jackson, when they're reloading, move to that wall. We'll flank from the alley. Sir, that's... I know what it is. Do it. There's no time to argue. No time to think of a better plan. There's only what needs to happen next. Murphy counts down again. At 0, Hayes and the other soldiers open up with everything they have. The Germans instinctively duck back from the windows. Murphy, Rodriguez, and Jackson sprint for the wall. They make it. Barely. Murphy's lungs are burning, his heart hammering against his ribs. He's been running and fighting for hours now, or maybe days. He's lost track, but he can't stop. Can't slow down. The moment he stops moving, men die. The alley curves around behind the German position. Murphy moves fast, quiet as he can manage in combat boots on cobblestone. He reaches the back door of the building. It's closed. Locked, probably. He doesn't bother trying the handle. He puts 3 rounds through the lock, kicks the door open, and goes in shooting. The ground floor is a storage room. Crates, barrels, and agricultural equipment. And 2 German soldiers spinning around in surprise, reaching for their rifles. Murphy fires first. Always fires first. That's the only rule that matters. Both Germans go down. He's up the stairs before their bodies hit the floor. Rodriguez and Jackson are right behind him, covering his flanks. The stairs creak under their weight. Murphy can hear the Germans above, shouting now. Realizing they're being attacked from behind, he reaches the top and throws himself flat as a burst of automatic fire tears through the stairwell. Wood splinters explode around him. He rolls right, comes up firing, and drops the German with the MP40. The room is full of smoke, noise, and violence. Murphy moves through it like he's done this 1,000 times. Because he has. One German rushes him with a bayonet. Murphy sidesteps, drives the butt of his carbine into the man's face, and shoots him as he falls. Another tries to surrender, hands up, shouting "Kamerad!" Murphy hesitates, just for a second, but Rodriguez doesn't. 2 shots. The German drops. Couldn't trust it, Rodriguez says, breathing hard. Could have been going for a grenade. Murphy doesn't argue. He's seen that before, too. In 30 seconds, the building is clear. Murphy moves to the window overlooking the courtyard and signals Hayes. The sergeant waves back, relief visible even from this distance. But Murphy doesn't feel relief. Because the building's clear, but the town isn't. They've taken maybe 300 yards. There's still half of Holzkirchen ahead of them. Still hundreds of Germans. Still hours of fighting. And his radio is crackling with bad news. Murphy, this is Captain Walsh. 2nd Platoon is stalled out near the church, taking heavy casualties. 3rd Platoon lost its lieutenant. We're getting torn apart here. Murphy closes his eyes for just a moment. Just one moment to let the weight of it press down on him. Good men are dying out there. Men he knows. Men he's fought beside for months. And there's nothing he can do about it except keep fighting. He opens his eyes. Walsh, this is Murphy. I'm moving toward the church now. I'll try to take pressure off 2nd Platoon. Negative, Murphy. You don't have the numbers to. I'm moving. Murphy out. He cuts the transmission. Looks at his team. Jackson is reloading. Rodriguez is bandaging a cut on his hand. The replacement kid is sitting against the wall, staring at the dead Germans with wide, shocked eyes. On your feet, Murphy says quietly. We're moving. Jackson looks up. Sir, we've got 3 men. The church position is. I know what it is. We're moving anyway. Because that's what Audie Murphy does. When everyone else is pinned down, bleeding, dying, he moves forward. When the odds are impossible, he goes anyway. When there's no good choice, he chooses the hard one. It's kept him alive this long. Or maybe it's what's going to kill him. Either way, he's not stopping now. They leave the building through a side door and immediately come under fire. Murphy dives behind a stone trough, bullets sparking off the cobblestones. The church is 2 blocks away, a massive structure dominating the town square, its steeple rising above everything else. And it's crawling with Germans. Murphy can see them in the windows, on the roof, behind the walls. They've turned the church into a fortress. Machine gun positions covering every approach. Riflemen picking off anyone who tries to cross the square. Second platoon is scattered in the buildings around the square's edge, unable to advance, unable to retreat, just taking fire and bleeding. Murphy watches one of them try to run for better cover. He doesn't make it. The kid, can't be more than 18, makes it maybe 10 feet before the machine gun cuts him down. He falls in the middle of the square and doesn't move. Murphy looks away. He has to, if he thinks too much about it. About all the kids who've died, all the lives ended in seconds. He won't be able to function, so he doesn't think about it. He pushes it down, locks it away, and focuses on the problem. The church, the machine guns, the Germans, how to solve it. His mind works fast, tactical, analyzing angles and distances and fields of fire. The square is a kill zone. Anyone crossing it dies. But the buildings around the square are connected. Alleyways, interior passages. There's always a way through, if you're willing to take it. Jackson, Rodriguez, stay here. Keep them occupied. Sir, where are you? Just keep them busy. Murphy doesn't wait for acknowledgement. He's already moving, low and fast, back into the maze of buildings. He runs through a house, startled German civilian screaming as he crashes through. Out the back, through a garden, over a wall. He's moving toward the church from an angle they won't expect. Because Audie Murphy learned a long time ago, when you can't go through, you go around. When you can't fight fair, you fight smart. And when there's no good option, you make one. He reaches a building that shares a wall with the church, kicks in the door, finds a narrow passage leading to a connecting door. It's locked from the other side. He places a grenade against the lock, pulls the pin, and runs. The explosion blows the door off its hinges. Murphy goes through the smoke and into the church, and finds himself face to face with 20 German soldiers. Time freezes. 20 German soldiers. Maybe more. All of them turning toward the explosion. Toward Murphy. Toward the lone American who just blasted his way into their stronghold. For one impossible moment, nobody moves. Murphy sees everything in crystalline detail. The high vaulted ceiling of the church. Wooden pews shoved aside to make room for ammunition crates. Sandbags stacked around the windows. A lieutenant, young, blonde, aristocratic face, standing near the altar with a map spread out. Soldiers at the windows, at the doors, some reloading, some eating, some just existing in the brief pause between killing and dying. And all of them staring at him. The moment breaks. Murphy fires. His carbine barks 3 times. The lieutenant goes down. A soldier near the ammunition crates drops. Another by the door clutches his chest and falls. Then everyone is moving at once. Germans shouting, reaching for weapons. Murphy diving behind a heavy stone baptismal font as bullets ricochet off the ancient rock. The sound inside the church is deafening. Gunfire echoing off stone walls, brass casings ringing on the floor, men screaming in German and pain and rage. Murphy changes magazines. His hands are steady, mechanical. He's done this so many times his body knows the movements without thought. Out with the empty, in with the full. Chamber around. Breathe. He pops up and fires again. A German soldier falls backward through a window. Another ducks behind a pew. Murphy adjusts, fires through the wood. The soldier doesn't get up. But there are too many. A grenade lands 5 feet from his position. Murphy sees it, registers what it is, and throws himself sideways. The explosion is massive in the confined space. Shrapnel screaming through the air, shredded wood and stone fragments spraying everywhere. His ears are ringing, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. His carbine is gone, blown from his hands. A German soldier rushes him, bayonet fixed, screaming. Murphy draws his pistol, M1911, 7 rounds, and fires twice. Center mass. The German crashes into him anyway, momentum carrying him forward. They go down together in a tangle of limbs and blood. Murphy shoves the body off and rolls to his feet. 3 more Germans are coming from his right. He fires. 1 down, 2 down, 3. Click. Empty. The 3rd German is 10 feet away, rifle coming up. Murphy doesn't think. He grabs a piece of shattered wood from the floor and hurls it. The German flinches, instinctive, and that half-second is all Murphy needs. He closes the distance, tackles the German, and they crash into a wall. Murphy's fist connects with a man's jaw once, twice, 3 times. The German goes limp. Murphy takes his rifle, a Mauser K98. Bolt action, 5 rounds in the internal magazine. It'll do. He chambers a round and fires at a German aiming from behind the altar. Hit. The German spins and falls. Murphy works the bolt, fires again. Another German down. The church is chaos now. Smoke thick in the air. Germans shouting, trying to organize, trying to figure out where the American is, how many Americans there are. Some are running for the doors. Some are still fighting. Murphy moves through the smoke like a ghost. He's outgunned, outnumbered 20-1, surrounded, alone. And he's winning, because they're afraid of him. They don't know how many men came through that door. They don't know if this is the vanguard of a major assault. All they know is that their position is compromised, their lieutenant is dead, and Americans are inside their fortress. Fear is a weapon. Murphy learned that in Sicily, in Italy, in France. Fear makes men hesitate, makes them miss, makes them run. He uses it. He fires from one position, then moves before they can return fire. Appears somewhere else. Fires again. Moves again. They're shooting at shadows, at smoke, at the place he was 5 seconds ago. Murphy's shooting at flesh. A German machine gunner tries to swing his MG-42 toward the interior of the church. Murphy shoots him before he can fire. The gun crashes to the floor, ammunition belts spilling across the stone. Murphy sprints for it. Bullets chase him. One grazes his shoulder. Burning pain. But he doesn't stop. Can't stop. He reaches the machine gun, grabs it, heaves it up onto a pile of sandbags. The MG-42. 700 rounds per minute. The fastest machine gun in the world. The Germans call it Hitler's buzzsaw. Murphy's about to use it on them. He finds the trigger, aims at the cluster of Germans near the main entrance and squeezes. The gun roars. The noise is beyond deafening. It's apocalyptic. The entire church shakes with the violence of it. Tracer rounds streak across the interior like meteors. Stone chips explode from walls. Wooden pews disintegrate. And Germans die. They try to run, try to take cover. But there's nowhere to go. Murphy sweeps the gun back and forth, methodical, remorseless. The ammunition belt feeds through at terrifying speed. Empty casings cascade to the floor in a brass waterfall. In 15 seconds, it's over. The church falls silent except for the ringing in Murphy's ears and the soft moans of wounded men. Murphy releases the trigger, surveys the carnage. Bodies everywhere. The beautiful old church, probably centuries old, full of history and faith and art, is ruined. Bullet holes in the walls. Blood on the altar. shattered stained glass glittering on the floor like colored diamonds. War doesn't care about beauty. Murphy's hands are shaking now. Just slightly. The adrenaline is fading, and in its place comes the crash, the bone-deep exhaustion, the weight of what he just did. 20 men. Maybe more. He killed them all. He wants to feel something about that. Remorse, guilt, horror. But he doesn't feel anything at all. That's what scares him most. Not the killing. The fact that the killing doesn't bother him anymore. He pushes the thought away. There's no time for it. His men are still out there. The battle is still happening. Murphy moves to the window overlooking the square. The machine gun positions that were firing on 2nd Platoon are silent now. The Germans who were manning them are dead inside the church. He can see American soldiers cautiously emerging from cover, advancing into the square. His radio crackles. All units, this is Captain Walsh. The church position has been neutralized. Unknown friendly forces engaged and cleared the position. 2nd Platoon, advance through the square. Murphy, respond if you can hear this. Murphy picks up his radio. Keys the mic. Walsh, this is Murphy. Church is clear. Estimate 20 enemy Kia. Position secure. There's a long pause. Then, Murphy, did you just say you cleared the church? By yourself. Affirmative. Another pause. Longer this time. Jesus Christ, Murphy. Murphy doesn't respond. He's already moving toward the church's back exit. Because the church might be clear, but the town isn't. There's still fighting. Still Germans. Still work to do. He steps over bodies on his way out. Some of them are moving, wounded, dying. One reaches out weakly, saying something in German Murphy doesn't understand. Murphy keeps walking. There's no medic for these men. No evacuation. They're the enemy. And this is war. And mercy is a luxury nobody can afford right now. He emerges into an alley behind the church, just as Jackson and Rodriguez find him. Sir? Jackson looks pale. We heard the shooting, we thought. I'm fine. What's our status? Rodriguez answers. 1st and 2nd platoons are pushing into the square. 3rd platoon is working up the east side of town. But we're hearing reports of German armor. Murphy's blood runs cold. Armor? What kind? Don't know yet. Sounds like at least one tank, maybe more, coming from the north end of town. That's bad. That's very bad. Company B has no anti-tank weapons. No bazookas, no guns, nothing that can stop armored vehicles. If the Germans have tanks in Holzkirchen, this whole assault could fall apart in minutes. Show me. They move through the ruined town at a combat crouch, sticking to the shadows, avoiding the main streets. Murphy can hear the tank now. The distinctive rumble of a heavy engine, the squeal of tracks on cobblestone. They reach a corner building that gives them a view of the northern approach. And Murphy sees it. A Panzer IV. Maybe 60 tons of steel and death. The turret is traversing slowly, the long 75mm gun searching for targets. Behind it, German infantry, maybe a platoon's worth, using the tank as cover, advancing down the main street. American soldiers are falling back. They have no choice. You don't stand and fight a tank with rifles. Murphy watches them retreat, watches the tank roll forward, crushing everything in its path. Watches the German infantry retake ground that Company be paid for in blood. And he makes a decision. Jackson, Rodriguez, get back to Captain Walsh. Tell him we have confirmed armor, Panzer IV, north end of town. Tell him we need air support or artillery, anything that can take out that tank. Sir, what about you? Murphy doesn't take his eyes off the Panzer. I'm going to slow it down. Sir, you can't. That's an order. Go. They hesitate. They know what he's planning. They know it's suicide. But they also know better than to argue with Audie Murphy when his mind is made up. They leave. Murphy stays. He's crouched in the rubble of a destroyed building, watching the tank approach. It's 200 yards away now, close enough to hear the individual squeak of each track link, close enough to see the commander's head visible in the cupola. Murphy has no anti-tank weapons, no bazooka, no mines, no shaped charges. What he has is a stolen German rifle with 4 rounds left, a half-empty pistol, and 2 grenades. And an idea so insane it might actually work. Or it might get him killed. Probably both. The tank is 150 yards away. The German infantry is spread out behind it, using buildings for cover, advancing cautiously. They're smart, disciplined. This isn't some panicked retreat. This is a coordinated counterattack. Murphy waits. 100 yards. The tank's gun fires. The explosion tears through a building where American soldiers were sheltering seconds ago. Murphy hopes they got out in time. 75 yards. Murphy can see the tank commander clearly now. Feldwebel maybe. Experienced. Scanning with binoculars. Looking for threats. He hasn't seen Murphy yet. 50 yards. Murphy stands up. The tank commander sees him immediately. Murphy watches him shout something. Point. The turret starts to traverse toward Murphy's position. The massive gun barrel swinging around with terrible, inexorable purpose. Murphy raises the Mauser and fires. 1 shot. 200 yards. Moving target. The tank commander's head snaps back. He drops into the turret dead or wounded. The tank stops. For just a moment confused, the crew inside trying to figure out what just happened, whether their commander is okay, what they should do. That moment is all Murphy needs. He's already running, not away from the tank, but toward it, sprinting through the ruins, using every piece of cover, every shadow. The German infantry sees him, opens fire. Bullets kick up dirt around his feet. One tugs at his jacket. He doesn't stop. 30 yards from the tank. The turret is moving again. Someone else inside has taken command. The gun barrel is coming around. If it finds him, he's dead. 1 shot from that 75 millimeters and Murphy will just cease to exist. 20 yards. Murphy throws himself behind a low stone wall as the tank fires. The shell screams overhead and detonates somewhere behind him. The concussion wave slaps him against the stones. He's up and running again before the smoke clears. 10 yards. The hull machine gun opens up. Bullets spark off the cobblestones, off the walls. Murphy zigzags, impossible to hit while moving at full speed. Or maybe just lucky. He doesn't know anymore where skill ends and luck begins. 5 yards. He reaches the tank. The German infantry is shouting, trying to warn their comrades, but Murphy's too close now. The tank can't depress its guns low enough to hit him. He's in the blind spot. He pulls both grenades from his belt, pulls the pins, and drops them into the open commander's hatch. Then he runs. Behind him, the grenades detonate inside the tank. The explosion is muffled but devastating. Smoke pours from every hatch. The engine sputters and dies. The tank is dead, and Audie Murphy is still alive. The German infantry, seeing their tank destroyed, begins to waver. Some fall back. Some surrender. Some keep fighting, but the momentum is broken. Murphy doesn't stop to watch. He's already moving back toward friendly lines, toward his men, toward whatever comes next. Because the tank is destroyed, but the battle isn't over. It's never over. 8:23 a.m. Holzkirchen, Germany. The town is burning. Murphy collapses against a wall near the town square, lungs heaving, every muscle screaming. Blood runs down his face from half a dozen cuts he doesn't remember getting. His uniform is torn, burned, soaked with sweat, and God knows what else. The stolen Mauser is gone. He dropped it somewhere during the retreat from the tank. His pistol is empty. He's been fighting for almost 3 hours straight. It feels like 3 years. Around him, Company B is consolidating. Medics move through the square, working on the wounded. The dead are being dragged to one side. They'll deal with proper burial later, if there is a later. Soldiers slump in doorways, passing cigarettes, drinking from canteens with shaking hands. The Germans are pulling back. Not surrendering, just falling back to new positions on the far edge of town. The battle isn't over, but there's a lull. A brief, blessed pause in the violence. Captain Walsh finds Murphy sitting with his back against the stone wall. The captain looks as exhausted as Murphy feels. Face drawn, eyes bloodshot, moving like a man who's aged a decade overnight. "Murphy!" Walsh drops into a crouch beside him. "You all right?" Murphy nods. Doesn't trust his voice yet. Walsh offers a canteen. Murphy takes it, drinks deeply. The water tastes like heaven and copper. "Wanna tell me what the hell happened back there?" Walsh says quietly. "The church. The tank. My men are saying you cleared an entire company position by yourself, then took out a panzer with hand grenades." Murphy hands back the canteen. "Just did what needed doing." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I've got, sir." Walsh studies him for a long moment. There's something in his eyes, concern maybe, or recognition. The look of a man who's seen too many soldiers like Murphy. The ones who can't stop fighting, who don't know how to stop. "Battalion wants us to hold here," Walsh says finally. "Consolidate our position. Wait for reinforcements before we push the rest of the town. We've taken 50% casualties. Lost both platoon leaders from 3rd. 1st platoon is down to half strength." Murphy does the math silently. They started with 40 combat effective soldiers. 50% casualties means 20 men down. Killed or wounded badly enough they can't fight. 20 men in 3 hours. Who's taking over 3rd platoon? Murphy asks. Walsh looks at him. "You are. Field promotion to 1st lieutenant. Effective immediately." Murphy closes his eyes. 1st lieutenant. Another stripe. Another weight. More men to keep alive. More responsibility when they die anyway. "Sir, I don't." "It's not a request, Murphy. You're the best combat officer I have. Hell, you might be the best combat officer in this entire division. Those men need someone who can lead them, who can keep them alive. Like you kept 20 men alive this morning?" Murphy doesn't say it. Just nods. "Yes, sir." Walsh claps him on the shoulder and stands. "Get your men sorted. We move again in 30 minutes. He walks away, leaving Murphy alone with his thoughts, which is the last place Murphy wants to be. He forces himself to stand. His legs don't want to cooperate. They're trembling, threatening to give out. Pure adrenaline has kept him moving for hours, and now that it's fading, his body is sending urgent messages that he's pushed too far, done too much, needs to stop. He ignores them all. 3rd platoon is gathered in a shot-up building that might have been a bakery once. There are 18 men left, 18 soldiers staring at Murphy as he walks in. Some with hope, some with fear, some with the blank 1,000-yard stare that comes from seeing too much death. Murphy recognizes a few faces. Corporal Tipton, grizzled veteran, good soldier, skeptical of officers. Private Kerrigan, farm kid from Iowa, barely 18. Sergeant Polk, transferred in last week. Murphy doesn't know him yet. They're all looking at him like he's supposed to have answers. He doesn't have answers, just experience, and the will to keep moving forward. "Listen up," Murphy says. His voice is hoarse, raw from shouting orders and breathing smoke. "I'm Lieutenant Murphy. I know most of you. Those I don't know, we'll get acquainted soon enough. Here's what you need to know. I'm not going to lie to you. This is bad. We're under strength. We're fighting in an urban environment against dug-in defenders, and the Germans aren't giving up easy. He pauses, meets their eyes. But we're going to finish this. We're going to take this town. And we're going to do it by watching each other's backs, staying sharp, and not doing anything stupid. You stick with me, follow orders, and keep your head on a swivel. We'll get through this. Tipton speaks up. Sir, with respect, we heard what you did at the church, taking on 20 krauts alone. That seems pretty stupid to me. A few nervous laughs. Murphy allows himself a thin smile. Fair point. Do as I say, not as I do. Questions? Silence. They're sizing him up, deciding whether they trust him, whether they think he can keep them alive. Murphy doesn't blame them for doubting. All right, check your gear. Redistribute ammunition. Anyone short, take it from the wounded who can't fight. We move in 20 minutes. The platoon disperses to follow orders. Murphy finds a corner and starts the same ritual he's performed 100 times. Field stripping his pistol, cleaning it, reloading. The familiar motions are soothing, mechanical, something his hands can do while his mind processes everything else. Jackson appears with a fresh M1 carbine and several magazines. Thought you might need this, sir. Thanks, Jackson. Murphy takes the weapon, checks the action. Clean. Reliable. Sir, can I ask you something? Murphy looks up. Jackson is young, maybe 22, but he's been with Company B since Anzio. Seen plenty of combat. Good instincts. Murphy trusts him. Go ahead. Back at the church. How did you do that? How did you just go in there alone, knowing what was waiting? Murphy considers the question. It's not the first time someone's asked him some variation of it. How do you find the courage? How do you keep fighting when the odds are impossible? The truth is complicated and dark. I didn't think about it, Murphy says quietly. That's the secret, Jackson. You don't think. Because if you stop and think about the odds, about how many ways you can die, about all the things that can go wrong, you'll freeze. You'll hesitate. And hesitation gets you killed. So you just turn off your brain? No. You focus on the next 5 seconds, on the next action. You break it down into pieces small enough that you can handle them. Don't think about clearing a building full of enemies. Think about getting through the door. Once you're through the door, think about clearing the first room. Once the first room is clear, think about the next room. One step at a time. Jackson nods slowly. And what about when it's over? When you have to think about what you did? Murphy doesn't answer right away. Because that's the part he hasn't figured out yet. That's the part that wakes him up at night, drenched in sweat, reaching for a weapon that isn't there. You deal with it later, he says finally. After the war. After everyone's safe. You deal with it then. If you survive that long. Jackson seems to understand what Murphy isn't saying. He nods and walks away. Murphy finishes loading his magazines. 30 rounds per magazine. 3 magazines. 90 rounds total. He's killed more men than that today already. He wonders distantly if there's a number, a kill count high enough that something inside him will just break. That he'll wake up one day and not be able to do this anymore. He hopes so, because the alternative, that he could do this forever, that the killing could just become normal, is somehow worse. A commotion near the entrance. Murphy looks up. Medics are bringing in wounded from the square. One of them is screaming, high-pitched, agonized. Lost his leg below the knee. The medic is trying to tie off the artery, but there's blood everywhere. Murphy looks away. He's seen too many wounded men. Too many die despite the medic's best efforts. He used to try to help. Used to hold their hands, tell them they'd be okay, make promises he couldn't keep. He stopped doing that months ago. Because they die anyway. And the promises just make it hurt more. Sergeant Polk approaches. Big man, South Carolina accent, carrying himself with the confidence of someone who's been in the army a while. Lieutenant, got the ammo situation sorted. We're at about 60% on rifle ammo, 40% on grenades. Found some German potato mashers. Good for close work if you don't mind the extra weight. But make sure everyone takes at least 2. We'll be clearing buildings. Yes, sir. Polk hesitates. Sir, some of the men are wondering. Why are we still pushing? Town's half cleared. Germans are falling back. Why not just sit here and let them retreat? It's a fair question, and Murphy knows the answer, even if he doesn't like it. Because if we let them retreat in good order, they'll set up somewhere else. Fortify. And we'll have to do this all over again in the next town. Better to keep the pressure on. Break their will to fight. Break them before they break us. Polk nods and walks away. Murphy checks his watch. 8:47 a.m. 13 minutes until they move again. He should eat something. Drink more water. Rest. Instead, he walks to the window and looks out at the town. Holzkirchen is dying. Fires burn unchecked in a dozen buildings. Bodies lie in the streets, American and German both, indistinguishable in death. Shell craters pock the square. The church steeple, somehow still standing, is silhouetted against the smoke-stained sky. Before the war came, this was someone's home. Families lived here. Children played in these streets. There was laughter, love, ordinary life. Now it's a graveyard. And Murphy is one of the gravediggers. He thinks about the German soldiers he killed in the church, wonders if any of them were from this town, if they were defending their homes, their families, fighting not for Hitler or the Reich, but for the simple, desperate desire to protect what was theirs. It doesn't change what he did, doesn't make it wrong. This is war. They would have killed him if he'd given them the chance. But it makes it harder, makes the weight a little heavier. Murphy's hands are shaking again. He flexes them, trying to make it stop. It doesn't work. Combat fatigue, battle exhaustion, shell shock, whatever you want to call it. Murphy's seen it in other soldiers. The tremors, the 1,000-yard stare, the sudden panic attacks. He's seen men who could fight for months and then just break, crumble, start crying, and not be able to stop. He's terrified it's going to happen to him. But not today. He can't afford it today. So he shoves it down, locks it away with everything else, with the fear and the guilt and the memories of all the men he's killed and all the friends he's lost. There'll be time to deal with it later. If he survives. Mount up. Captain Walsh's voice carries across the square. 3rd Platoon, you've got point. Murphy, take your men up the eastern approach. 2nd Platoon will cover your flank. Let's finish this. Murphy turns from the window, looks at his 18 men. Boys, really. Most of them younger than he is. All of them looking at him, waiting for orders, trusting him to lead them through hell. He picks up his carbine. Chambers around. 3rd Platoon on me. Stay tight. Watch your sectors and don't bunch up. Let's move. They file out into the smoke and ruin. Murphy at the front, always at the front. Because that's where leaders go. That's where they die. The streets narrow here. Centuries-old buildings crowd together, 3 and 4 stories tall. Their walls pockmarked with bullet holes, their windows empty and dark. The cobblestones are slick with something Murphy doesn't want to identify. Every doorway is a potential ambush. Every window a sniper's nest. 3rd Platoon moves in a staggered column, 5-yard intervals between men. Murphy leads, Jackson and Rodriguez close behind. The rest spread out, covering alternating sides of the street. Weapons up, fingers on triggers. The silence is worse than the gunfire. When the Germans are shooting, at least you know where they are. But this quiet, thick, oppressive, pregnant with violence, means they're waiting, watching, choosing their moment. Murphy signals halt. The platoon freezes. He heard something, or thought he did. A scrape of boot on stone. The metallic click of a weapon being readied. It came from the building ahead. 3 stories, narrow windows, good fields of fire down the street. He signals Tipton to move up. The corporal understands immediately, peels off with 2 men to flank right. Murphy waits, counting heartbeats, giving them time to get into position. 30 seconds. 45. A minute. Then Tipton's voice crackles over the radio, barely a whisper. In position. I've got eyes on 3 no for Krauts in the second-floor windows. MG-42 set up. They're waiting for you. Murphy keys his mic copy. On my mark. You hit them from the side. We'll rush the entrance. 3, 2, 1 mark. The world explodes. Tipton's team opens up from their flank position. The Germans, caught by surprise, swing their weapons toward the new threat. Murphy doesn't give them time to adjust. He's already running. 3rd platoon surging forward behind him. 20 yards to the door. 15. 10. The MG-42 roars to life. But it's aimed at Tipton's position, not at Murphy. The German gunner realizes his mistake too late. Murphy reaches the door, kicks it open, goes in low and fast. 2 Germans in the ground floor room, turning in surprise. Murphy fires twice. Both drop. Behind him, Jackson and Rodriguez pour through the door. The rest of the platoon stacks up outside, covering the windows, ready to move in. Upstairs! Murphy shouts, already taking the stairs 2 at a time. The Germans know they're coming now. Murphy can hear them shouting, preparing. The stairs are narrow, stone, worn smooth by centuries of use. A fatal funnel. Anyone coming up can be cut down easily. Murphy pauses at the landing, pulls a German stick grenade from his belt. One of the potato mashers Polk mentioned. Yanks the cord to arm it. Counts 2 seconds and hurls it up the stairwell. The explosion is massive in the confined space. Dust and smoke billow down. Murphy goes up through it, firing blind into the cloud, trusting speed and aggression to carry him through. He emerges on the 2nd floor shooting. The MG-42 team is down. Either from Tipton's flanking fire or Murphy's grenade, he can't tell. 2 other Germans are staggering, disoriented from the blast. Murphy shoots them both. The room clears in seconds. Tipton's voice on the radio. Building secure. Moving tout rejoint. Murphy moves to the window. From here, he has a clear view of the eastern quarter. More narrow streets, more ancient buildings. And at the far end, maybe 300 yards away, the eastern edge of Holzkirchen. Beyond that, open country. Freedom. That's where the Germans are falling back to, where they're making their last stand in the town. Between here and there are maybe 50 enemy soldiers scattered through a dozen buildings, all of them fighting for every inch. Murphy keys his radio. Captain Walsh, this is Murphy. 3rd platoon has secured the building at map grid November 3. Clear view of the eastern approaches. Estimate 50 to 70 enemy remaining, falling back to defensive positions at the town limits. Walsh's voice comes back, scratchy with static and exhaustion. Copy, Murphy. 2nd platoon is 2 blocks south of your position. 1st platoon is moving up the main street. Keep pushing. Battalion wants this town secured by noon. 3 hours. 50 Germans. A maze of stone buildings and death traps. Roger. Murphy out. He turns to his platoon. They've consolidated in the building. Some covering windows, some sitting against walls, catching their breath. Kerrigan, the young private from Iowa, is shaking. His hands, his whole body. Combat stress. Murphy crouches beside him. You hit. Kerrigan shakes his head. Can't seem to speak. Look at me. Murphy waits until the kid's eyes focus. You did good. You're alive. That's what matters. Just stay close, keep your head down, and follow orders. Understand? Kerrigan nods shakily. Murphy stands, addresses the whole platoon. We've got 3 more blocks to clear. Germans are falling back, but they're not broken. They'll fight for every building. We do this smart. Clear methodically, cover each other. Don't take unnecessary risks. Jackson, Rodriguez, you're with me on point. Polk, take the rear security. Tipton middle. Everyone else, stay alert and watch your sectors. Sir, Polk speaks up. We're pushing pretty hard. Men are exhausted. Maybe we should wait for 2nd platoon to catch up, consolidate before we move again. It's reasonable, tactically sound, the safe play. Murphy shakes his head. We wait. The Germans dig in deeper. We keep the pressure on. They break. Speed is our advantage right now. Speed's also how you get men killed, Polk says quietly. Murphy meets his eyes. There's no insubordination in the sergeant's voice. Just concern. A good NCO looking out for his men. You're right, Murphy says. But sitting still gets them killed too. At least if we're moving, we control the tempo. We dictate the fight. Polk holds his gaze for a moment, then nods. Yes, sir. They move out. The next building is empty, abandoned so recently there's still food on the table. A cigarette burning in an ashtray. The Germans were here minutes ago. The building after that isn't empty. Murphy kicks in the door and immediately throws himself flat as machine gun fire tears through the doorway. Would splinters explode above his head? He rolls right, comes up with his carbine, fires at muzzle flashes in the darkness. Jackson throws a grenade. The explosion rocks the building. Murphy and Rodriguez rush in while the Germans are still stunned. Close quarters chaos. Murphy fires at a shape in the smoke. Misses. The German fires back. Murphy feels the bullet tug his sleeve. So close it burns. He adjusts, fires again. The German drops. Another one coming from the stairs. Rodriguez gets him with a 3-round burst. The building falls silent except for the ringing in their ears and someone groaning in German from the back room. Murphy and Jackson clear the back while Rodriguez covers the entrance. They find a wounded German soldier, gut shot, dying slowly. He can't be more than 17. Blonde hair, blue eyes, blood spreading across his Feldgrau uniform. He's crying, calling for his mother. Murphy and Jackson look at each other. The kid's not going to make it. Even if they had medical supplies, even if they had time, that wound is fatal. He's got maybe an hour, maybe less. An hour of agony. Jackson's hand moves toward his pistol. No, Murphy says quietly. Sir, he's suffering. I said no. We're not executing wounded prisoners. It's not execution. It's mercy. It's a bullet in the head. That makes it execution. Leave him. Jackson's jaw tightens, but he holsters his pistol. They leave the dying German boy and move back to the main room. Murphy knows Jackson's right. The merciful thing would be a quick death. But Murphy's killed enough men today. Enough this week. Enough this war. He's not adding executions to the list, no matter how you justify it. Even if it means the kid suffers. He tells himself it's about maintaining his humanity. About not crossing certain lines. The truth is simpler. He's exhausted. Soul-deep exhausted. And every trigger pull, every death, takes something from him he's not sure he can get back. Outside, the platoon regroups. They're down to 16 now. 2 wounded in the last building, sent back to the aid station. 16 men to clear 3 more blocks. Murphy checks his ammunition. 2 magazines left plus the 1 in his weapon. Maybe 70 rounds total. He's been fighting all morning, and he's almost out. Anyone running low on ammo? He calls out. Half the platoon raises their hands. Murphy curses silently. They're rationing their shots, being careful, but urban combat eats ammunition faster than anything else. Close range, multiple targets, suppressive fire. It all adds up. All right, scavenge what you can from the enemy dead. German weapons are better than no weapons. They spend 5 minutes stripping ammunition and weapons from the German casualties. It's grim work, but necessary. War doesn't stop because you're out of bullets. Kerrigan is visibly struggling with it, hands shaking as he tries to remove magazines from a dead German's belt. The body is still warm. The face is too young, too human. First time? Tipton asks him, not unkindly. Kerrigan nods, unable to speak. Gets easier, Tipton says. Then, after a pause, that's the problem. It shouldn't get easier, but it does. They move to the next building, then the next, fighting through Holzkirchen one room at a time, one floor at a time, one heartbeat at a time. The Germans are fighting hard. Every position contested, every room a potential death trap. But they're falling back, slowly, grudgingly, leaving their dead behind. Murphy loses count of the firefights. They blur together into one continuous nightmare of smoke and blood and violence. He's operating on pure instinct now. His body knows what to do even when his brain is too exhausted to think clearly. Kick door. Clear room. Move to next. Repeat. Someone is always shooting. Someone is always dying. Murphy stops feeling anything about it. At 11:03 a.m., 3rd Platoon reaches the eastern edge of town. They're occupying the last row of buildings before the town gives way to fields and forests. Murphy positions his men at windows overlooking the open ground beyond. The Germans are out there, maybe 30 of them, visible in scattered groups, falling back toward a tree line 500 yards away. They're not running, not panicking, just executing an orderly withdrawal. Soldiers doing their job. Murphy raises his carbine, sights on a German officer organizing his men. Easy shot, maybe 200 yards. He could drop him. His finger hovers over the trigger. But he doesn't fire. The Germans are retreating. They're no longer a threat to Holzkirchen, to 3rd Platoon. Shooting them now would be, what? Revenge? Cruelty? Pointless killing? He lowers his weapon. Let them go, he says quietly. Polk looks at him in surprise. Sir, we've got clear shots. I said let them go. Conserve ammunition. Town's secure. It's a tactical decision, he tells himself. Practical. Smart. But really, Murphy just can't pull the trigger anymore. Not today. He's hit his limit. The number he didn't think existed. He's killed enough. The radio crackles. All units, this is Captain Walsh. German forces are withdrawing from Holzkirchen. Town is secure. Well done, gentlemen. Well done. Around Murphy, his platoon is cheering, slapping each other on the back, lighting cigarettes with shaking hands. They survived. Against all odds, they made it through. Murphy feels nothing. No relief. No joy. Just a vast, hollow emptiness. 16 men left out of his platoon. He started the day with more. The missing ones are dead or wounded. Good men. Men who trusted him to lead them, to keep them alive. And he failed them, just like he fails everyone eventually. Sir? Jackson is beside him, grinning despite the exhaustion. We did it. We took the whole damn town. Murphy nods mechanically. Yeah, we did. You all right? Fine. Just tired. It's a lie, and Jackson probably knows it. But there's nothing either of them can do about it. You don't talk about this kind of tired. This bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion that has nothing to do with sleep and everything to do with killing. Murphy walks away from the window, from the celebration. He finds a corner and sits down, back against the wall, carbine across his lap. The battle is over. They won. So why does it feel like losing? April 23rd, 1945, 2:34 p.m. Holzkirchen, Germany. The town is quiet now. A different kind of quiet than before the battle. Not the tense, waiting silence of impending violence, but the hollow quiet of aftermath, of exhaustion and death and things that can't be undone. Murphy sits alone in the upstairs room of the secured building, staring at nothing. Below, his men are settling in, making the place defensible for the night, in case the Germans counterattack. Though nobody really thinks they will. The Wehrmacht is collapsing. Everyone knows it. The war in Europe has maybe weeks left. Days even. But soldiers still die. Right up until the last minute, soldiers still die. Someone's placed a K-ration box beside Murphy. He hasn't touched it. Hasn't eaten since. When? Yesterday? The day before? Time has lost meaning. There's only before the battle and after the battle, and the space between them where he became something he doesn't recognize anymore. Footsteps on the stairs. Captain Walsh appears in the doorway. He looks at Murphy for a long moment, then steps inside and closes the door behind him. Mind if I sit? Murphy gestures to the floor. Walsh sits, groaning slightly. He's 42 years old. Ancient by infantry standards, and he moves like every one of those years is carved into his bones. They sit in silence for a while. Outside, the sun is trying to break through the smoke. Failing mostly. Final count. Walsh says eventually. Company B took 63% casualties today. 27 killed. 18 wounded seriously enough for evacuation. We're combat ineffective. Battalions pulling us off the line for refit. Murphy doesn't respond. The numbers are just numbers. They don't convey the weight of it. Don't capture what it feels like to watch men, boys, die in front of you, screaming for mothers who'll never hear them again. Intelligence estimates we killed or captured approximately 150 German soldiers, Walsh continues, for the loss of 27 of our own. By any tactical measure, that's a victory. Doesn't feel like one, Murphy says quietly. No, it never does. Walsh pulls out a cigarette, offers one to Murphy. Murphy takes it. They smoke in silence. You know what the men are saying about you? Walsh asks after a while. Murphy doesn't want to know, but Walsh tells him anyway. They're saying you're either the bravest man in the U.S. Army or the craziest. Maybe both. They're saying you cleared a church full of Germans single-handedly, destroyed a tank with grenades, led charges that should have gotten everyone killed. They're saying you're invincible. Murphy laughs. It's a bitter sound, empty of humor. I'm not invincible. I'm just lucky. There's a difference. Is there? You've been in combat for what? 2 years now? Sicily, Anzio, southern France, the Vosges Mountains, now Germany. Most men don't last 2 months. You've lasted 2 years without a scratch. I've been scratched plenty. Nothing serious. Nothing that stopped you. That's not luck, Murphy. That's something else. Murphy turns to look at Walsh. Really look at him. Sees the concern there. The worry of a commander watching one of his officers burn out in real time. What do you want me to say? Murphy asks. That I'm scared? I am. Every single day. That I'm tired? I'm exhausted beyond words. That I want this to be over? More than anything. But it's not over. Not yet. So I keep going. What else is there? There's knowing when to stop. Walsh says gently. When you've given enough. When you've done enough. You've earned a rest, Murphy. More than earned it. I could get you rotated stateside. Training duty. You'd be valuable teaching the next generation. No, Murphy! I said no, sir. Murphy's voice is harder now. I stay with my men. I finish this. We're so close to the end. I'm not leaving now. Walsh sighs. He knew that would be the answer. But he had to try. The thing that worries me, Walsh says carefully, is that you're going to get yourself killed doing something heroic and unnecessary. And the men who follow you, who trust you, they're going to die right alongside you. I haven't gotten anyone killed yet. 27 men died today. The words hit Murphy like a physical blow. His hands tighten on his carbine. That wasn't my fault. That was war. I'm not blaming you, Walsh says quickly. I'm stating a fact. Men die in combat. That's the nature of what we do. But you charge into situations that would make any sane officer think twice. You take risks that save lives, Murphy interrupts. The church. If I hadn't cleared it when I did, 2nd Platoon would have been cut to pieces in that square. The tank. If I hadn't stopped it, it would have rolled right through our positions. I take those risks because someone has to. And what happens when your luck runs out? Murphy doesn't have an answer for that, because he's wondered the same thing. Every day, every battle, he wonders if this is the one where the odds finally catch up with him. Part of him hopes it is. That's the thought he doesn't say out loud. The dark truth lurking beneath everything else. That sometimes, in the worst moments, Murphy almost wants it to end. The fear, the killing, the weight of all those deaths. It would be easier to just stop, to catch the bullet that has his name on it, and be done. But he keeps going anyway, because his men need him, because the job isn't finished, because he doesn't know how to do anything else anymore. Walsh seems to sense the direction of Murphy's thoughts. He stubs out his cigarette and stands. Get some rest, Lieutenant. That's an order. Tomorrow we regroup, take stock, figure out what comes next. But today, you rest. Eat something. Sleep if you can. Let your body recover even if your mind can't. He heads for the door, then pauses. For what it's worth, Murphy, what you did today was extraordinary, tactically brilliant, and personally brave beyond measure. You saved a lot of lives. I'm putting you in for a medal. Probably the Distinguished Service Cross. Maybe more. Murphy doesn't respond. Medals don't mean anything to him. They're just pieces of metal, recognition for things he wishes he hadn't had to do. Walsh leaves. Murphy sits alone with his thoughts. The K-ration box sits beside him, unopened. His carbine rests across his lap, familiar weight, constant companion. Outside, afternoon is fading toward evening. The sun, what little of it penetrates the smoke, is getting lower. Somewhere in the building, someone is crying. Quiet sobs muffled, trying not to be heard. Murphy doesn't know who. Doesn't go to investigate. There are a lot of reasons to cry after a day like today. All of them valid. He thinks about the German boy they left dying in that building. Wonders if he's dead yet. Hopes he is, for his sake. Hopes it was quick. He thinks about the 27 Americans who died today. Tries to remember their names. Can only recall maybe half. The others blur together into a mass of uniforms and blood. He should remember them all. They deserve to be remembered. But Murphy's mind is too full. Too many deaths, too many faces, too many last moments witnessed. His memory is like a cup that's been filled beyond capacity. Everything new just spills over the edge, lost. How many men has he killed? He tried to keep count once, back in Italy. Gave up after the number passed 50. Now it's got to be hundreds. Maybe more. Each one a life ended. Each one someone's son, brother, father, husband. Each one a human being who woke up that morning not knowing it was their last. Murphy wonders if any of them haunt the Germans the way his own kills haunt him, or if they've learned the same trick he has, to push it down, lock it away, deal with it later. Or never. Footsteps again. Lighter this time. Jackson appears, carrying 2 canteens of water. Sir, you need to drink something. Murphy takes a canteen. Drinks. The water tastes like metal and chemicals, purification tablets, but it's wet, and that's all that matters. Thanks, Jackson. Jackson sits down across from him. Doesn't ask permission. After a day like today, the normal formalities of rank seem less important. Rodriguez is okay, Jackson says. Caught some shrapnel in his shoulder, but the medic patched him up. He'll be fine. Murphy nods. That's good. Rodriguez is a good soldier. They need good soldiers. Kerrigan's not doing so well, though. Kid's pretty shaken up. First real combat. He saw things today that... Jackson trails off. You know, Murphy knows. Everyone's first battle is like that. The moment innocence dies, and you realize war isn't like the movies or the stories. It's just chaos and terror, and people dying in ugly, undignified ways. Keep an eye on him, Murphy says. Make sure he's not alone. Combat fatigue can hit anyone, but it hits the new guys hardest. Yes, sir. Jackson pauses. Can I ask you something? Off the record? Murphy gestures for him to continue. How do you do it? How do you keep going? I've been in combat for 8 months, and I'm barely holding it together. You've been at this for 2 years. What's your secret? Murphy looks at Jackson, really looks at him, sees the exhaustion, the fear barely held in check, the cracks forming in the foundation of who this young man used to be. He sees himself. You want the truth? Murphy asks. Yes, sir. I don't have a secret. I'm not holding it together. I'm just good at pretending I am. Every battle, I'm terrified. Every time I go through a door, I'm convinced I'm about to die. Every night, I have dreams about all the men I've killed, all the friends I've lost. I wake up in cold sweats, reaching for a weapon, not knowing where I am. Jackson stares at him. But you never show it. You're always so calm, so controlled. Because I have to be. Because if I let the fear show, if I let the exhaustion show, then my men see it. And if they see their officer falling apart, they start falling apart too. So I lock it away. I put on the mask. I pretend I'm fine. But you're not fine. No, I'm not fine. None of us are fine. We're all just pretending, Jackson. All of us. The only difference is some of us are better actors than others. Jackson absorbs this. Nods slowly. So what happens after? When the war's over? When we don't have to pretend anymore? Murphy doesn't answer. Because he doesn't know. He can't imagine a world where the war is over. Where he's not fighting. Where he can take off the mask and deal with everything underneath. It seems impossible. Like trying to imagine breathing underwater, or flying without a plane. We'll figure it out, Murphy says finally. One day at a time. Same as we do now. It's not a good answer, but it's the only one he has. Jackson stands to leave, then hesitates. Sir, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're with us. We all are. You saved a lot of lives today. Whatever demons you're wrestling with, whatever cost this is taking, it matters. What you did matters. He leaves before Murphy can respond. Murphy sits alone again. The light is fading now. True evening coming on. Soon it will be dark, and they'll post sentries, and the night watch will begin. And Murphy will lie down somewhere, and close his eyes, and try not to see all the faces of all the dead. He picks up the K-ration box, forces himself to open it. Inside is crackers, canned meat, instant coffee, chocolate, food, calories, things his body needs to keep functioning. He makes himself eat. Mechanical. No taste. Just fuel. Outside, someone has started a small fire. Against regulations, but nobody's enforcing regulations tonight. Men are gathered around it, sharing cigarettes, telling stories, trying to process what they survived. Murphy stays in his room. Because he's not ready to celebrate survival when so many didn't survive. Because he's not ready to be the hero they think he is. Because he's just so tired of fighting, of killing, of pretending he's okay when he's breaking apart inside. But tomorrow, he'll get up. He'll put on the mask. He'll lead his men wherever the war takes them next. Because that's what he does. That's all he knows how to do. And somewhere, deep inside where he keeps all the things he can't afford to feel, Audie Murphy wonders if he'll ever be whole again, or if the war has taken pieces of him that can never be recovered.